out. Hey. All gas, no brakes, we attack. Hey. Hey. Turn it up loud right now. Hey. Hey. 305 Sports now. Hey. Hey. 305 Sports now, we lit in Miami. Talking heat, talking fins, whole city around me. Panthers on the ice, crowd roar like a hurricane. All gas, no brakes, we burning up the whole lane. 305 Sports now, say the name, don't doubt. We're back on with the takes, yeah, he break it all down. From the court to the field, every play, every sound. 305 Sports now, yeah, we run this town. Miami nice, but we up in the day. Breaking news, big moves, every highlight play. Dolphins in the zone, end zone going wild. Heat flame high, every bucket, every smile. Panthers in a rush, blaze cut through the cold. Hurricane, wind spin, orange, green bolt. Will Padron got the stats, got the smoke. All gas, no brakes, every topic he spoke. 305 Sport now, say the name, don't doubt. Will Padron with the takes, yeah, he break it all down. From the court to the field, every play, every sound. 305 Sport now, yeah, we run this town.
Hello, Miami. Thank you so much for watching 305 Sports Now. I am your host, Will. Welcome to night 4. Yes, night 4 of Road to Spring. Yes, where we talk about Miami Hurricanes football, spring football, and the spring game itself. And joining me tonight is a several group of friends, right? They're very recognizable, and you know exactly who they are. The other two are hopping on right now. Actually, one of them just showed up. Awesome. Starting first, okay, with you know him very well as the host of Cafecito and Kane, and he also hosts a co-host of the Flow podcast with Flow as well. Ladies and gentlemen, hold on. Here we go. John, what's up, bro? How's it going?
What's going on, bro? I'm doing well. How are you?
Nothing much, man. I am tired. it's been a fun week though, man. But man, it's I'm exhausted to say the least. You know, in general, everything good with you?
Everything's good, man. Can't complain. I have last 2 nights. This will be 3 nights in a row for me too. The last 2 nights I recorded.
Oh wow.
So yeah, it's fun what we do and everything, but when you do it too many days in a row, yeah, it gets taxing. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, man, but I completely enjoy it. And joining us as well is a man who needs no introduction. Okay, he has tricky Wi-Fi, but I'm glad he's on with us today. And that is, of course, you guys know him as the host of the Flow Network. Hello, what's up, brother? How you doing?
What's up? When the wifey's out of town and stuff don't work, you find out that you don't know how to do nothing. That's what I found out. But I'm here. I'm happy to be on and with you boys and chop it up a little bit.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate you coming on. You're a very busy guy. Okay, as well. And of course, my good friend of 30 plus years. He has one of, I think, the best named podcasts in all of YouTube sphere in general. My boy Q of the I Hate Football podcast. And once again, there we go. Now I got it. All right, there we go. Just trying to get the window thing down. What's up, brother? How's it going?
Fellas, what's going on? Good to see y'all.
Q, how you been, man? Everything good?
All was good, bro. All was good, man. Can't complain, man. Can't complain. Yeah. Talking little Canes, man. Appreciate you having me on. Good to see the fellas. And yeah, man, ready to chop it up a little bit, man.
All right, good. All right, so before the show started, our good friend Juan Manuel Ventura, all right, who's a contributor in all our shows, has been dropping some comments and some questions for all of you. Okay, so Juan, I promise you, stay tuned to the end, and we will get to your comments and questions. I promise. Okay, I just want to let you guys know as well. All right, so today we're talking D-line and offensive line, and it has been a fun conversation that has been had by a lot of people about our defensive line or offensive line, whether it's the local podcasters, local news, and the national guys themselves. They're all raving about how sick our D-line was last year and how, from a rotational standpoint, it might even be even better than last year. But I just want to read off some numbers for you. And this was our defense last year. Well, actually, our front four in particular, but I'm going to start off with the defense as a whole. The Miami Hurricanes gave up 15.6 points per game, all right, last season in 2025. That is a 41% improvement in points per game allowed per drive. Team sacks, 50th, number 1 in the ACC, 12th in the nation. 43 of those sacks were from the front four, right? Were from the front four as well. Mesidor, his pass rush rating, 40% of the time he got home. 40% of the time. That's number 1 amongst defensive ends in the country. Moten, who you guys all know very well personally, 24.2%, 17th amongst DTs. Mesler finished the season with 12.5 sacks. Of course, Ruben Bain, especially in the playoffs, really picked it up. 9.5 sacks. Okay, like I already mentioned the whole thing about the defensive line. The core defensive line tackles for loss, right, was 56.5, totaling 293 yards lost this season for opposing offenses. Mesler, I'm assuming they included stats here. Mesler accounted for 17.5 of those TFLs. Bain 15.5 of those, and Moen counted for 9. This D-line was absolutely sick last season, and I expect a little bit of the same this season as well. We'll start first with John about what he thinks about what I just read. We'll go with Flo, and then we'll go back, and then we'll go to Q.
Yeah, massive improvements, obviously. I mean, we saw it on the field. We saw it I think we all knew game one, this defense was going to be different after the Notre Dame game. You could attribute that to many things. The way they swarm to the football, the violence they play with, the energy they play with, and just Corey Heatherman coming in and bringing a defense, a scheme that they can understand, not have to think so much, and just fly to the football. I don't know if it was actually Juan Manuel or one of our regular viewers on one of my recent videos. He said it perfectly in the comments section. I wish I can remember who it was, but he basically explained like what Corey Heatherman said during one of the press conferences. He explained that, yeah, you're going to have some missed tackles one-on-one because we still led the playoffs, I think, in missed tackles. However, the way he wants his guys to play is to hey, go for the kill shot. If you're the first guy at the scene, go for the kill shot, because if you hit it, you might jar the ball loose. That could be a game-changing play. If you miss, don't worry. There's going to be another wave of guys right behind you to clean it up. So I think just that style, that overall style of play helped us tremendously, and I think it fit the guys that we had.
Yeah. Flo, what'd you take?
What a difference a good coach makes, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, Corey Heatherman's like Jesus or something. I don't know what's going on. They all the same guys look a little different. Looked a little different last year, It's interesting, right? When you put them in the right spot, you have the right scheme, you get the right coaching, you put the right culture around them. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. For me, I could have never imagined the numbers and the defense the way they played last year. I thought they'd take a step up, right? But what we did to really good teams was more than impressive. And I really also enjoyed, I have to give him credit for a lot of those numbers because of the adjustments also, right? A lot of adjustments were made at halftime sometimes. So I agree that the D-line was just, I mean, championship worthy is not a stretch. We were in the championship game, right? So I think those guys were unbelievable, and I know we're going to get into it in a minute. So I'm actually looking forward to this season's defense line. But shout out to, I'm giving the credit to the players for sure, but Corey Heatherman to me, and thank God he got the extension and all that good stuff. But because those guys were on our team the year before, you know, and they didn't look like that. And I know there were some injuries and stuff like that, but scheme and coaching to me has a lot to do with that.
Yeah. Before I get to Q, I want to answer this question quickly. Juan, the answer is no. I don't think Corey Heatherman blinks. Just to say the least. I don't think the man blinks. Q, what's up, bro? Let us know what you think.
Bro, in the words of the poet Meek Mill, I used to dream of days like this, right? And you hate to. I'm not a big hypothetical guy, right? But you sit there and you wonder, man, what could have been with Cam, with this defense the year before. But listen, man, the extension is well earned, right? When you look at what it is he did, again, like you guys have talked about, in the same roster, right? I mean, you brought in some new DBs that the DB room needed to be overhauled, obviously. But you look around, especially with the front four, and those guys, again, it's the same guys, right? And so, between the system that he brought in, which was a simple system to pick up according to what the players were saying, as opposed to, what it is that was being run previously, that was, super complicated and had you thinking way too much. He brought in a simple system, also brought in, Damian Lewis, that I think, helped out, tremendously also. But man, when you look at Corey Heatherman, And add to that, Damian Lewis, obviously, we have, and Jason Taylor and everything, who, I had been a little bit critical of, based on the fact that, I needed to see kind of that next step from those DMs, right? I knew he was a guy who was a good relationship builder. He was a guy who was obviously a good recruiter, but I needed to see a little bit more from him, and I saw it this past year, right? But when you look at that system, man, and, up for the Broyles Award, obviously, man, you can't, you can't say enough about Corey Heatherman. The change that they made on that defense, man, it was absolutely amazing. You read the numbers out, what they did in terms of, being, bottom half of Power 4 football, to being top 10 in so many categories. You guys mentioned it, man. They were beating up good teams.
Yeah.
You look at what they did to Ohio State. Look at what they did to Texas A&M, right? Look, they didn't necessarily shut down Ole Miss, but went out and beat a really good Ole Miss team, right? I mean, could have beat, Indiana, right? Because that game was lost on special teams, not on defense. They by and large they held Fernando Mendoza and that offense, in check. So, again, man, really impressive job all the way around. They started right, like John said, man, from game one, I should say, beating Notre Dame, and never look back, right? So, keeping a guy, the running back from the two running backs from Notre Dame, right? Having them have their worst games of the season. The way they swarm to the ball, obviously a little bit more discipline needed at times, but man, overall the aggressiveness, that they showed out there, making clutch plays when they needed to, could have used a little bit more at times. Obviously the DBs dropped some interceptions in the playoff and everything, man. But again, overall, when you look at the strides that this defense made, man, you can't say enough about Corey Heatherman, and man, so glad to hear that they extended him the other day. So huge shout out to the administration for making that happen.
Yeah, that's a great move, giving both of those guys a contract extension. We'll get into the offense in a few minutes, but great move extending your coordinators, especially since there has been success with both guys. And even with as good as Guidry's defense looked that first year, you did see some cracks in Guidry's defense in several games, North Carolina and Louisville being one of them. Really didn't, in my opinion, my perspective, yeah, you had a couple drives here and there, but you really didn't see that crack in Heatherman's defense that you could be like, at all this whole season. And it's only going to get better. I think next season the defense is going to look even better. He has a track record of being better, being good consistently when he was with Minnesota as well, and now here with the University of Miami. I don't see me coach scared. I just think he didn't understand his personnel, especially in the second season, especially in that Syracuse game when poor Frederic was getting killed by the Syracuse receivers, and they never put a safety over the top. So that's what I think. It just wasn't a fit. Yeah, it really wasn't a fit. Q, you want to answer that?
Yeah, that's my boy Chuck right there. Chuck, appreciate you tuning in, bro. Yeah, I would agree with you and disagree with my boy Chuck respectfully. It wasn't scared, right? I just think it was just lack of ability to pivot, from what it is you start off with. I mean, you look at that Syracuse game, zero ability to adjust, right? Mm-hmm. Zero ability to adjust, zero ability to scrap what you started with and pivot to something else, among other things, right? I mean, offenses figuring out what you were doing really, really easily, so on and so forth. So, again, man, I mean, just, won't spend a lot of time talking about, Guidry, good luck to him. I think where he ended up, Memphis now, I think, if I'm not mistaken. He was at Oregon State for like a cup of coffee, and I think Memphis came calling, and he ended up over there. But again, just a really easy defense for other teams to figure out, and for his own team, not to, right, which is a bad combination. So, like I said, man, glad that Corey Heatherman is our DC. And, man, yeah, I can't wait to see what this year brings. Obviously, I think it's going to look a little bit different. I think you're going to have, you had Bain and Mesidor just dominating snaps at defensive end. I think, obviously, that's going to change a little bit this year, where you're going to come more in waves. But really excited about what you have at defensive end. And you got some real studs, at the position, and really excited to see what those guys do.
Jose, I completely agree with you. Okay, I agree with you, and I agree with you on the upgrade, right, as well. Okay, so continuing on with Q, there's been a talk about the lack of production, the loss of production is more like it, as far as, losing guys like Mesidor and Bain to the draft. And that's understandably so. I just read you some numbers. One guy had 12.5 sacks. The other one had 9.5 sacks. Okay, so that's 22 sacks for both of them combined. So that is a loss, but I still do think that we have a lot of depth at that position, and I do think that they're going to come at you, in waves. One of the guys I'm really looking forward to seeing, especially hearing about in the spring game, is Marquise Lightfoot. I know that he gets some heat because he's not considered a big guy, but I still remember when he planted Bo Jackson in a very pivotal game in the Cotton Bowl. I also remember him chasing from the other side of the sideline DJ Lagway and able to get the sack in the game at Florida. So I'm excited to see guys like that really step up this season. So Q, how do you see our defensive end position this year? And when you're done talking about the ends, focus a little bit more on the defensive tackle position.
Yeah, man. Again, like I said, the defensive ends, I mean, you really, really have to like, the names that you have at defensive end, right? I mean, you got a guy like Marquise Lightfoot. You got some really highly recruited guys. Booker Pickett, we really haven't seen, a whole lot from, right? Definitely expect him, to play a significant part this year. A guy like Hayden Lowe, which, from everything I've heard, the guy, he's been out for personal reasons or something like that. Hopefully there's nothing, crazy going on there that's going to cause him to not be on the team. But, obviously, big ticket item in Damon Wilson you bring over from Missouri. So again, man, I think the position is deep, right? I think you're looking at the talent that's there, the way they recruited the position, what you added in the portal with Wilson. And so, again, man, you're getting great coaching from Jason Taylor. In terms of what I think you're going to be missing, on at the position, I'm really interested to see how you replace the leadership, at that position, right? Because, you've gotten younger, right? And the leadership you're replacing with Bain and Mesidor, right? I mean, those guys were essentially, the heartbeat of the defense, right? I mean, those two guys, great locker room guys, right? You see it now, in draft prep, they're still in the practice facility, they're directing and they're instructing the whole deal. So that's leadership, right? I mean, those guys, super, super well-respected guys. And I think that leadership void, I'm interested to see who it is that's going to fill it, right? I think you got Blunt and Lightfoot and guys who have been in the program now for a couple years, that I think are more than capable of filling that void. But I think more than anything, for me, that's the question that I have, because I think as long as you keep your front end guys healthy, the only thing that I think you're going to have to look to replace is that leadership void. Because again, man, I think they're going to come at you in waves. I think again we know they're well coached. I don't think those guys that you have at the position outside of Hayden Lowe are built the way that Mesidor and Bain were, right, with that size. They're slighter build, if we're being honest. But again, I think they're guys that are going to make an impact. Again, I think as long as we find a way to fill that leadership void, again, I don't think there's anything really to worry about with that position.
All right. Flo, what'd you take, sir?
Yeah, look, to me, it's I don't think talent or the physicality or the skill set's going to be an issue, right? Do you know another team in the country that has 4 or 5 stars at the same position group? Because Lowe's a 5-star, Lightfoot's a 5-star, Wilson's a 5-star, and Blunt's a 5-star. And they all play defense end. So I'm gonna go on a limb and say talent is not gonna be an issue. Blunt's big as F, and remember, Keon Davis plays both also, so he's gonna be in that mix too. Pickett is a package guy, explosive, right? And I need to see the discipline, right? One thing that I can say about Mezzi and Bain, other than they were freaks of nature as far as getting after it, they were really disciplined overall. When you would go back and watch the tape the next day after a game, they did so many boring things that matter so other people can make a play, right? I'm curious about that. Not saying, when I say curious, I'm not trying to lead people the wrong way. Like I think it's gonna go bad, but I'm just curious. We're in an NIL era right now where you want to make plays, you want to be on TV, you want to be on ESPN Sports Center, you want to do all that stuff. But to me, the unsung trait that those two guys had that are going to be in the NFL in about a week is they did the boring stuff too. They did the plays going the other way. What were they doing, right? Can they set the edge? How do they play against the run? Things like that. We all know about the sacks and the and the exciting stuff they do, but That to me is going to be the hardest stuff to replace. Not getting after the passer, not making the explosive highlight play. I think we're going to have a ton of those. To me, I want to see if we can do the boring stuff. Can we do like the regular play that we're supposed to make that maybe we don't get the kudos or we don't get the stat? Because numbers are great, but they don't have context, right? Because we all know that Bane is better than Mezzi at the end of the day. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket science to watch tape and understand that, because the way that Bane plays the run is incredible also. But Mezzi's got more sacks, right? And I mean, I'm not trying to compare it and get him in a challenge. I'm just there's no context in numbers sometimes. You got to, tape doesn't lie, tape's undefeated. That's what I always tell people. I love what we have in that room from a personnel standpoint. I think there's just freaks. And as Mario would say, there's creatures in there, right? Let's see if they can do the boring stuff.
This is what I like about having multiple people on a panel. You guys get different perspectives, and we all have a common interest and a shared goal for our team. So I like I love your take, and I love your take too as Flo. Johnny, what you got?
I think all three of us are in agreement. We don't think the talent is going to be tough to replace. Even though those are two special players, it's really hard to year over year, man for man, replace that or even surpass. That's going to be almost impossible. However, love what we have in that room. That 4-man rotation of Blunt, Lowe, Wilson, and Lightfoot, elite. It's one of the best in the country, maybe the best. Hopefully Hayden Lowe can get through whatever he's got going on, because he's an important one. I think he will. I think we'll be fine there. If we could somehow replace that leadership and the culture because the Mezzi and Bane were culture guys. They were very important, heart and soul, the defense type of guys. The good thing is you have Lightfoot and Blunt who played active roles on last year's championship run. So hopefully they can follow the man in front of them, do what they did, copy what they did, and that sort of thing will continue, because that's how you get the Ohio States and the Alabamas of the world. On top of having a great head coach that established a culture, you have those waves of guys that the young guys just follow the old guy in front of them. And I think we're starting to create that system now, especially on the defensive line. And you still got JT there coaching them. But no, I have at defensive end or defensive tackle, I've got no worries. I think it's a top 3 D line in the country. You can make the legit argument it's the best D line in the country.
Yeah, we've been talking a lot. Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. And yeah, I totally, especially with depth and talent. But I will say this: we have talked a lot about the defensive ends, but I also think that we have a nice embarrassment of riches at the D tackle position. Moten really took a step last year. I mean, and he decided to come back for another year and to improve his draft stock. And I think if he has a good year, he could be a first-round pick next upcoming NFL draft. Justin Scott has looked really good, right, as well. I was a big fan of Jarquez Carver when he was being recruited by Miami. I was upset when he went to Florida, when he went to Ohio State as well. Then we have, I might be forgetting some guys. Flo, you probably have better memory than I do in general. But we have a nice rotation of guys within that D tackle position. So, John, I want to come back to you. And what are you looking forward to seeing this season as far as what could be probably Justin Scott and Ahmad Moten lined up to each other a bit more frequently?
It'll be running backs running off tackle on every play, because they're not going to want any of that middle. It's going to be like, I don't know if I can compare it to the late 80s when it was like Russell Maryland and Cortez Kennedy in the middle. That's just, and Jerome Brown and guys like that. That was just, there wasn't anything like that in the sport at the time. I don't know if it's going to be that level because the game has changed since then, but you do have, when you have elite D tackles in the middle, they're game wreckers. They push, they collapse the pocket, and they're the shortest path to the quarterback. So they put immediate pressure on that quarterback and wreck the game. They cause TFLs so they can wreck the game that way. It's the starters as well as the depth. Very impressive. And I remember at the end of the year losing the guys that we lost to the portal. I'm forgetting that they're gone, and I'm forgetting their names right now. Who are the two guys that we lost? It was Artavius Jones.
Simpson.
Dante Simpson and
Yeah,
Artavius
Tavis Jones. Yeah.
Yep.
Those are the two guys that we lost. Then we go out in the portal. It's like, no problem. We'll replace them. We replaced and maybe even upgraded. I think the guys that we got are more game ready than the guys that we had before. So, yeah, I'm just looking forward to seeing them, like I said, wreck games and really disrupt offenses.
Flo, what do you think?
Yeah, look, I echo John. And it's also the hybrid stuff they can do, because remember you have Blunt and Davis walking on a 275, and you know, so they can play the strong side defense end, but they can kick inside like no problem. Like it's not, you don't lose anything. Which again, these are guys with multiple college snaps, proven. Not like you're hoping and wishing on a star because of potential, right? Both those guys. I mean, Keon Davis tape in Nebraska is really good. And you guys know what Blunt is. Blunt is an absolute problem. And he's taking steps. So he's also like growing, which is in not just physically, but he's understanding the game now, right? And look, what are you going to say about Scott and Mo? They were literally, we just played in the Natty with them. Like, it's as good as it gets. I mean, it literally is as good as it gets. But 2 D tackles that can stop the run and rush the passer. Like, you get D tackles that are either I can plug and stop the run, or we'll bring this guy in and rush the passer. Both of these guys can do both. Both of them. I mean, I think that it's just a luxury what we have there. And yeah, you have the Jacquez Carters. We have the other transfer. His name is escaping me right now. Big white boy, whatever. I can't remember his name right now. But my point is, we were talking about waves at the defense end. I think that the interior can do a lot of different multiple fronts, different looks, different packages without jeopardizing something, because you have the size and speed inside. Plus, you have some experience in there. Again, these are the 2 D tackles that were in the Natty. That went to and beat Ohio State and beat Ole Miss and beat Texas A&M at Texas A&M. Like, this is proven. This isn't hoping and let's see if they have a good year. Listen. As soon as Mo had his son, he flipped the switch, and now you've seen what he turned into. He's an absolute stud. Scott, literally, they had to kick him in the butt a little bit because he was a little bit, not getting with the program, and now he flipped the switch too. You even heard him in his interview. He even sounds different when he's answering questions, right? He's accountable. He's mature. He's talking about being early, staying late, watching film, being a leader. Scott wasn't talking like that before. He's a little baby. I mean, little baby. You know what I mean? Mentally. Now you're talking about a guy that's kind of like molded his body more. It takes 2 guys to stop him at practice now. You can't one-on-one him. You just can't. He's too big, and he's got light feet, strong hands. You just can't. And you guys already know what Moten does. Moten's a wrecker. He just wrecks plays. He just literally, he's like a bomb. You just drop him and he destroys whatever play you're doing. So I know people are like, you guys are on the Kool-Aid. Well, prove me wrong. I mean, maybe I'm seeing it wrong, but I go with proven stuff because I can show it to you. And then we can talk about hope. Like, we're hoping on some of the DNs, but we still have 2. We have one of the best pass rushers in the nation that just transferred over to us. And I already know what Blunt is, and I know what Lightfoot is. So I will. That D line is just, it's an embarrassment. It's an embarrassment.
Yeah, I remember you and I had a conversation last year over Elijah Griffin and how much of a fan I was of his recruitment, hoping that we would get him. He ended up going to Georgia. And you told me, Will, have you seen the film of Joseph Scott? And I said, well, yeah. He goes, trust me, we're not going to miss him. And you're absolutely right. He was actually very key in the Notre Dame game and from game 1. And I'm looking forward to seeing, him mature this season as well, being a 3rd year with the team. Q, what's your take?
Listen, man, if you look at the most recent Super Bowl winners and the most recent national championship winner, right? You look at real quick in the NFL, who's won? Philly, right? Seattle just won it recently, but Philly right before that, Kansas City, right? So on and so forth. Look at the difference makers they had at D-line, right? And we won't get much into the names. Anybody who follows the NFL, you should know them, fairly well, right? Difference makers at the defensive line. You look at college. Most recently, Alabama in the run they had. How many guys from the D-line did they have go in the first round? Clemson, how many guys do they have going in the first round? Ohio State, how many guys do they have? Georgia, how many guys do they have? Right? Probably, they own the best D tackle in the NFL came, currently probably from Georgia. So if you look at the recent history of what the D line has done for these teams, it directly correlates with titles, right? We know the quarterback's important, right? We get it, right? I understand that, but we proved that with an elite quarterback and no defense, you're not going to win anything, right? Very recently, we proved that. So I say all that to say that is the trajectory and the path that this team is on right now, right? Bringing back Moton is, and I wouldn't say low key necessarily, right? I think we know what he is, and we assume what he's going to turn into. Bringing back Moton and keeping him from going to the draft was probably the single biggest move, in my opinion, that this team made in the offseason, right? When you look at the retention across the roster, right, speaks to the culture, right, that they built and the whole deal, right, the development that's going on. They didn't lose anybody, from the DB room. They didn't lose anybody from the running back room, which I think surprised everybody. I definitely expected there to be attrition in those two position rooms, right? But keeping those guys and keeping a guy like Moton, I think just speaks to what it is that they built in terms of culture and development, with this program. Having Moton come back, having to have replaced Moton would have been a tall task, right? You look at this team without Moton, I think that D-line looks really, really different, right? So keeping that guy huge, the way he performed in the college football playoff, massive. A guy with a great first step, speed to power. I mean, just disruptive, the whole deal. You have to double team him. So just a huge, huge move. We know what those guys cost in the portal, right? We know what guys who aren't that good at that position cost in the portal, right? There was a kid, and now the name escapes me, D lineman who went from Penn State to Tennessee. This guy had like 6 tackles, his entire career. I think a sack and a half or some of that in Tennessee paid that guy like $3.5 million. Right. So that position and the money it generates in the portal, right? We know what that looks like, right? So keeping a guy like Moton home, being able to keep everybody home and building the depth at the D line that we have, huge. And I think we're going to see the next step in the development of Justin Scott. I think we're going to see Moton dominate. And I just think this D line and the tackles specifically are just in for a really big year.
Yeah, I completely agree. And we all know you could have a great quarterback, you could have great wide receivers, you could have a fantastic DB room. But at the end of the day, football is very simple. A great offensive line and a stud defensive line makes things a lot easier from both sides of the ball. If you have a great offensive line, your quarterback can do whatever he wants. If you have a great defensive line, the defensive backfield looks a lot better, and they get more interceptions as well. So I'm very excited about that, and I'm very excited how we've talked about the defensive ends tonight. We've talked about the defensive tackles tonight. We're very excited about the talent level. You're right. It's 4 and 5 stars all over the place within this defensive line. I don't know how anybody is going to stop this D line this season. The only enemy Miami has is the mirror. Okay, that's pretty much it. I think they could, beat Notre Dame as well. I think they can match up Notre Dame as well and push Notre Dame around as well. So we'll see. We go to South Bend as well. But also, right, we have to talk about the offensive line. And the offensive line was just as nasty last year. As we saw talent for talent, that group of 5 was absolutely amazing. Number 1 in pass blocking efficiency and a Pro Football Focus of 87.4. Beck had a clean pocket, 85% of dropbacks. 85% of dropbacks. Okay, that is incredible. Run blocking, they were 11th in the nation, number 1 in the ACC. Second level blocking allowed Fletcher to average almost 4 yards after contact, right, as well. And also negative plays nationally, a 3rd ranked. Basically, TFL's only 3.6 per game, basically. So basically, no one got in the backfield in all those snaps as well. Efficiency in the red zone. Red zone scoring was at 89% as well, and the touchdown rate was 26 in the nation. CC Mauinoa, 88% pass blocking rate, and he didn't allow not 1 sack, or barely a pressure in the last 7 games he played this season. That is absolutely sick. All right, how good this offensive line was. And I told you this, Q, as well. What's good about this, what Mario Cristobal is doing, is he is building NFL-looking offensive lines and defensive lines, and it showed in the playoffs as they were basically beating everybody up until the national championship game. And even then, in the second half, they manhandled. I would say they manhandled Indiana. Oh, sorry, John. I know you got to run in about 10 minutes, so we'll start with you first.
We're good. Yeah. Look, the offensive line last year was not just great; it was generational. And like I said, with Bain and Mezzi, you can't. It's pretty much impossible to replace what you lost. You lose 4 guys to the NFL, but you're bringing back a lot of size, a lot of talent. We're definitely not lacking in size and talent in the trenches. Okay, and yes, you read the stats that Carson Beck had, all the time in the world to throw the ball. Same with Cam Ward, had all the time in the world to throw the ball. Someone like Carson Beck in the offense that we ran, he kind of needed that. He needed to lean on that because could you imagine Carson Beck now in front of this offensive line? It wouldn't work out so well because the offense would have to be run a certain way and all that stuff. Now you run a more faster pace offense, a quarterback that's more mobile. It fits a little bit better. I actually had, I posted it earlier today. I had Cam Underwood from State of the U on the show. Had him on last night. We recorded and posted it today, and we were talking about this very thing. Yeah, it's the O-line this year is not going to be anywhere near what we had because, again, it was generational. It was, one of one. But you go player by player, it's like, look, Jackson Cantwell's the number 1 player in the country. Yes, he's going to take his lumps. He's going to go through his growing pains. He's going to have bad reps. But are you okay with him at tackle? I am. Same thing going into 2023. CeCe went through his growing pains, but he had, he was number 3 player overall in the country. Going into the season, I was like, yeah, I'm fine putting him at tackle. We'll be just fine. That's the same way I feel about Cantwell. Taking his lumps right now. He's having his ups and downs in practice, has his things to work on. And he's going up, like we said, going up against an elite defensive end room every day at Green Tree. So by the time the season rolls around, he will be ready to go. And again, iron will sharpen iron every week after that, after the season starts. So, if he can be anything near what CeCe was his freshman year, he'll anchor down that O-line, and I think we'll be okay. Only thing I have a little bit of concern of is the center position. But it's Mirabal and Cristobal. They will figure something out. I'm really not that worried.
Hey, Flo, what's your take?
Yeah, look, last year's offensive line spoke for itself. I'm a big results person. Look what we did. Trenches travel, right? Like you got to understand that who we beat last year with that offensive line is no joke, right? Those rosters that we beat last year were no joke. I have nothing bad to say about the offensive line last year. I thought it was as a unit, they did. I mean, Carson Beck's jersey was like clean all the time. I mean, like honestly, I echo everything John says about last year's offensive line. I actually thought they played together well. Also, yeah, we had good players, but they played really well together. And I like the way that the scheme would fit last year with the new quarterback, and I thought it helped that O-line also. Look, great job. I mean, unbelievable offensive line. This year, there's only one reason why I'm not worried about the offensive line. It's our schedule. You understand? It's our schedule. Like, there's nobody that we're going to see except maybe Notre Dame that is going to have a front like we have at practice every day. And they don't either, but they're good is what I'm trying to say. So, I mean, I think that there is going to be some growing pains on that O-line. I agree with John. The center position is I'm sketchy on it for whatever reasons. We won't talk about it publicly. And yeah, Cantwell, I think he's just going to get better and better and better, but he's going to have some mishaps, right? You have a first-year startup, Max Buchanan. You got to stay healthy at the left guard, which is probably going to be Pancake. McCoy will be solid on the right. He's going to be fine. But you got to be honest. It sounds great. Oh, we got Mirabal and all that, but Rodriguez has never been healthy. And then they're like, well, he started against the Florida game. Go watch the tape. Just because you start don't mean you played good. Just go watch the tape, I love the guy. He's a real Cane. He's gone through adversity. I'm just saying I need to see him stay healthy. I need to see him play 2 or 3 weeks in a row, just to see what's going on there. Cantwell, yes, and pass block, whatever, here and there. But the schedule, guys, no matter what we say, we got to put it in context. Who we playing? That's actually going to affect that, because you can't really come at us in a certain way. And I know it's an offense and a defense alignment, because what are you going to do with the wide receivers we got out there? Like, you got to pick your poison. You can't just pin your ears back and chase us this year. Oh, and by the way, we have a quarterback that's not a stick, and stuck in the middle with roots. So I think the O-line will be fine because of the schedule, and it gives them a whole season to gel and work out kinks and make mistakes and all that stuff, because we're just better than everybody we're playing, except maybe Notre Dame, right? Now, if we're judging them on winning a championship this year, because I think the rest of the roster is championship quality, I don't know. I got to see it. I'm not going to be the Kool-Aid drowning guy, because winning a championship with the O-line that's you're not sure about, that's a whole different animal. Winning 11 games, 10 games with the roster, with the schedule we have, I mean, our defense is going to hold everybody to like 3 points all year. So I'm not even stressing the O-line during the season, but I do need to see what they do when we play somebody that's for real, for real. When you get to the playoffs, you're going to have 3 or 4 of those games.
Yeah, I had Donald on the show a couple days ago, and he likes Ryan. He says Ryan is taking a step, as far as the center position goes. So I mean, we'll see. We'll see. At the end of the day, I do trust Coach Cristobal, Coach Mirabal. We'll see what happens in that position.
Donald's a nice guy.
He is. But he really, stepped up for him. So he really stepped. So we'll see.
He really is a nice guy. I was a joke. I love Donald. He's one of my favorite.
No, he
people.
is. He's a great person. Yeah, he's a great person. Yeah, I used to admire him. I used to admire him when before this whole internet thing started, in general, because when he was on QAM, he sounded like a fan, that was getting an opportunity to have his own show. So I really resonated with that. And I think a lot of us did, because when he started Locked On Canes, like he blew up right away. I think bigger than most of the Locked On podcasters even did. So that's what's cool about Alex, that he's like one of the guys. Likes talking sports, likes to sit down, have a conversation, laugh at himself a little bit. He's a person. He is the nicest person. Yep. Yeah, he really is, man. So I've had a pleasure of having him on quite a few times. So yeah, man. All right, Q. What's your take on the O-line this year? Last year too, but O-line this year as well.
Bro, the one of the things that I'm really intrigued by, for all the talent that we that we talked about with the D-line, you look at the O-line, right? And it's built differently, right? We talk about what the O-line did last year in terms of, and I know we've used the word generational and everything like that. To me, the performance was generational, but when you truly look at what they had on the offensive line, if you take away CeCe, like, these aren't guys who are 5 stars, who are, All-Americans, going to, all the All-American games and everything. Inez Cooper was a lightly recruited guy, right? I know what he turned into, right? James Brockermeyer, when they landed him in the transfer portal, I think it was a nice pickup. I don't know that anybody was like jumping up and down, right? There were questions when he came in, right? I think before the season started, there were questions about him, right? Matthew McCoy was a guy who, they all by all accounts, he was going to Florida, right? He landed at Miami, but a guy who was a converted tight end, a guy who, had size and the whole deal, but, wasn't a finished product by any stretch. Obviously, Markel Bell, bringing him in from JUCO. You look around at what they have really in terms of, the stars and the way they were recruited. I think we can all agree at this point that Samson was probably, he was a little bit overhyped. I think they probably missed the mark on him being a 5-star, if we're all being 100% honest on that. And then you look at everybody else, right? Ryan Rodriguez, a guy who wasn't a super highly recruited kid. Kinsler, obviously, he transferred out, a guy who I was excited to see what he was going to turn into, but a guy who, again, lightly recruited guy. Now, Juan Minaya, a guy who wasn't highly recruited. You're looking at what they're bringing in now, and now is when they're starting to kind of see the more highly recruited kid, right? A guy like Joel Irvin was a highly recruited kid. You're looking around, obviously, aside from Jackson Cantwell, Cannon Pickett was, had some hype to him. The other guys, right? JJ Sparks, kind of sort of Reese Woodrow, kind of sort of. But Conklin. I say all that. Say again. Congdon
yeah.
That dude is a monster already. I'm excited to see what he turns into. But now it's kind of when we're starting to see a little bit more of the more highly recruited guys. So they built this line on traits, right? They brought these guys in who are all monsters, right? 6'5", 6'6", obviously aside from center. But your tackles and guards are all 6'5", 6'6", huge guys, coachable, right? Fit their system, right? So they built the line more on traits than highly recruited guys, right? And so when I'm looking at what we can expect from this line moving forward, right? I think, similar to the way it was with CC, right? We're starting Jackson Cantwell, right? Who, again, number one recruit in the country, depending on what service you follow, right? A guy who you're going to put at left tackle, by all accounts, is more than holding his own, at Green Tree. And when you look at who he's going, against every single practice, I think it was John or Flo that mentioned it. I mean, what better way to prepare for this upcoming season, right? When you look at what he's going against in practice, and Flo, you hit it on the head. He's not going to see any of that until maybe, I wouldn't even say Clemson at this point, because those guys, they're losing in the draft, right? Maybe Notre Dame, right? But he's not going to go against anybody better than what he's facing in practice, right? And so again, when you look at the line as a whole, right, and you go man to man, right? Jackson Cantwell, you're a really highly recruited guy, and everybody else, right? Again, Max Buchanan, he played last year, didn't play a ton, but he played. And then everybody else, right? Samson has played, right? You talk about Matthew McCoy has played. Ryan Rodriguez, right, has to stay healthy, but obviously he's a guy who's a 6-year guy. So again, I think the guys in terms of as a 5-man unit obviously have to gel and become really good. But you're talking outside of Cantwell, everybody else has played, right? And that's what they have going for them, right? So I think we don't know what they're going to look like in terms of a starting 5, but I put my faith in Mario. I put my faith in Alex Mirabal, right? You have Vidi now as a tight ends coach, obviously a guy who coached a Joe Moore Award unit at Army. And so I think between those 3 guys, between the experience that's there and the talent, right, I think that, again, we haven't seen them, right, as a unit, but I'm not super worried about what this team is going to look like based on all those factors. And then you add to that the schedule, which isn't super tough. I think all those factors lead me to have some confidence and some peace in that I think they're going to figure this thing out sooner rather than later.
Yeah. John, I know you told me you had to go around 9:15. Is there anything you want to plug? Any upcoming shows that you want to mention before we let you go?
Yeah, just check out Cafecito and Canes. If you haven't already, go subscribe. And I drop videos, kind of throughout the week. I pre-record and then drop them. So and then check me out, of course, on Sunday nights on the Flow Show with my illustrious co-host right there, right below me. Yeah. No, thanks for having me on, man. And yeah, on the O-line play, I just wanted to chime in with one quick thing. Georgia has had to their standards, a shitty O-line for a couple of years now. And they won the SEC and they went to the quarterfinals. So yes, ideally you want an elite O-line, but there's ways around it.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
You got to get good coaching. And
great coaching.
Sorry to interrupt you, John, real quick. So I don't know if you know, so I live in Georgia. I'm around Georgia fans all day, every day. And I'm telling you, bro, I promise you, if I'm lying, I'm dying. Before the season, but when they landed Stacey Searles, I told these dudes, I was like, I am telling you, you will be disappointed with a hire. I'm telling you right now, it doesn't matter how many 4, 5, 8 stars you have on your line. That dude cannot coach. I'm telling you right now, you're going to be disappointed with that hire. And sure enough, you look at what it is they produce on that O-line since he got there, and it's been ass, right? So coaching definitely matters, right? It's like you can recruit all the 4 and 5 stars. If you're not getting good coaching, then that O-line isn't going to play well, right? And then it's the opposite of what we've seen at Miami, where again, 3 stars, likely recruited guys they brought in with traits, and they brought them in and built a hell of an O-line. So again, a lot of ways to build that O-line and have them perform. But you can't overcome shitty coaching, pardon my friend.
Yes, and size matters. Remember that.
Absolutely.
Size matters in football, and we have it in droves.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah,
Mass,
no more.
Mass kicks ass, like Mario said. So.
Yeah, there's no more getting pushed back 5 yards into the backfield anymore with this offensive line, this coaching staff, man. That era is over. So very happy about that. John, thanks again so much for joining us, man. Thank you so much for joining us, man. Thank you so much for coming on and giving your takes, man. And have a wonderful evening, sir. Really appreciate it.
You too, Q, Will, Flo. Good to see you guys. Have a great night. Go Canes.
Good night, bro. Good night.
Good to see you, bro.
Go Canes.
Yeah, Mo Canes, real quick. I forgot about SJ. I don't know if it was a consensus 5-star, but yeah, he was on some sites he was a 5-star. So yeah, definitely another highly recruited guy. But again,
he goes with a good program. I'll say that much.
Oh no, of course, yeah. Came from one of the best programs in the country, Bishop Gorman. But yeah, hasn't lived up just yet to the to the 5-star billing. So
yeah, absolutely. I think SJ. I wanted to go back to Cantwell for about a couple minutes or so, but I think SJ's thing is just his size. I don't think it's a lack of talent because he kicked butt last year as a fullback. I mean, whenever he was lined up at a goal line situation, it was an automatic touchdown. You might as well just let the guy walk in, because aside from dealing with those mammoth beasts that had a major jumble set and having that young man at about 285, I believe he was clocked at running pretty quickly. You were going to stop Fletcher, who's 225, or Marty Brown was like 230 from getting in the end zone. So I think that's the issue with SJ's just the size, not so much that it's a talent thing as well. Flo, do you agree or do you have
technically he's unbelievable, right? Like they when they got him, I don't know if you remember. I mean, for Mario to say in a public setting with a microphone, he's one of the best high school players he's ever seen before. That's a lot. I mean, that tells you a lot. I mean, and the kid is, I mean, he's really good. It's a size thing, right? I think there's other ways you can utilize him. He's got amazing feet, excellent technique, plays with leverage, but I mean, you put 6'4", 6'5", 330 in front of him. It's not, you can only do so much technique, without getting bullied, right? So I think they'll find interesting ways without letting the rabbit out of the hat to use him. And they thought he might be the center of the future, but he has trouble snapping, so unless he figures out how to snap, which I don't know, because this guy Woodrow is taking massive steps right now as a center. So like you said, I mean, there's just bodies on bodies out there. Like, shout out to Dono. He put out a tweet. We average 6'7", 320 right now on the offensive line. Wow. The average NFL offensive lineman is 6'5", 325. Yeah. We're bigger than a lot of bigger than the NFL guys. I mean, you guys said it. They're different dudes right now, different sizes. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, I love it. I love it because I think I want to mention, though, because some people have, but I want to give him kudos. Jalen Wilkerson is taking massive steps. I don't think people thought he would play into possibly getting in the rotation this year, but he's forcing himself into some rotations right now. That's only a great problem, right? That's only a great problem because that guy's a massive dude with good feet also. So the future is bright either way. And I just think the schedule is why I'm so optimistic, because it gives you so much time you don't have to be perfect, with this schedule. You can make some mistakes. You can learn on the fly. You can mess around with the lineup if you need to, because you have so much talent everywhere else. You should be so much better than everyone you're going to play that you can afford to have some mishaps to learn from. So to me, that's why I'm not stressing it so much, because of the schedule.
Also,
go ahead, Q.
Also, real quick, just to go back to some of the stuff we were talking about before and who they have in the building. I think one of the things also that kind of caught my attention when you look at who it is they're bringing in, across the roster, right, in the portal, right. I think it's telling, right. We looked at the year before, right? We talked about what they did to the DB room, right, and the way they overhauled it. Why? Because there was just no talent. Right. I mean, those guys those guys couldn't cover. I think when you look at what they did in the portal and in that O-line room and what they didn't do, I think that's a clear indication that, again, they went after Jordan Seaton, right? Who was
Mm-hmm.
obviously, right, one of the best. And I think he underperformed a little bit at Colorado, but I think obviously, again, a 5-star kid, you know, a guy who cost a boatload of money, right, to bring in, right? A boatload of money from what everybody's talking about. And the demands that he was making, you know, were insanity. But anyway, I think it was telling. That's who they went after in terms of a big ticket item. Why? Because he was a guy who was one of one in terms of, you know, the talent, the measurables, and the whole deal. I think outside of that, what did they do? Was Jonathan Klein, right? Jonathan Klein, Jamal Merriweather, or right? Some depth pieces, some guys with you know, some guys with you know, some experience, some guys with some traits that they brought in, right? Keeping in form with what it is they have in the room already. But they didn't go out and go nuts with the O-line, right? They didn't go out and, you know, give, you know, a bunch of random guards a bunch of money, a bunch of random tackles, you know, a bunch of money, you know, a center from God knows where, a bunch of money. So I think, to me, that's another sign that they're good with the O-line. I think they're okay with where that O-line sits because they did not go out and land anybody of any real consequence. I think, again, you go after that one dude who's a bad dude, right? Jordan Seaton is a guy who I think most big programs are going after. They didn't land him. Cool. Hey, we're going to go get these 2 depth pieces, and we're going to look at what it is we have at tackle. You know, you talked about it. Wilkerson, right? A guy who was, you know, the good feet, right? Was a basketball player, right? You look at him now, right? 6'6", 335 or something like that, I think is what they're listing him at. Right. So everybody who sees him is saying the same thing. The guy is a monster. McCoy, monster. Right. You look at a guy with Max Buchanan who wasn't as big, but the dude is an animal in terms of the mentality and the physicality that he plays with and the whole deal. Right. So you're looking around at this line, man. And again, based on what they already have in the room, right? Based on the schedule, based on the coaching, dude, all those things lead me to believe that even if this unit isn't as good as it was last year necessarily, I think they're going to be just fine. I think they're getting more than enough with the skill position. I'm telling you, man, I think this offense is going to be a nightmare for teams to stop.
Yeah, it's like it's not like a talent, it's just like an experience. You know, and that's why someone equated this team as its O-line to the 2023 one as well. Like, it was a little bit, they had experienced players, but it wasn't complete. So like I said, you had a right tackle that was a true freshman out there, and I see some similarities. It's not complete carbon copy, but some similarities between this offensive line and the offensive line of 2023. And like I said, what was wrong with that offense? A quarterback that couldn't read zone. I mean, that's pretty much what it was. It was an interception machine. That was the biggest problem. The running game kicked ass that year, you know, with A.J. Allen and a young Mark Fletcher as well. We had the position players, you know, that the skill position players that were making plays that year, but it was just a quarterback situation. I don't think we're going to have that problem this year because you have a wily veteran that's proven it in two schools. This is the school for him. He's going to have a good offensive line. He's got more talent at the wide receiver position and some bell cows at running back. So I really don't see this line struggling so much this year. They'll have some growing pains, but that's why I said, like Flo said, the schedule makes it so Miami could be very successful because you're not opening with Florida, all right? You're not opening with Notre Dame. South Carolina, you know, that's dipped in general. Your toughest teams are going to be Clemson and Notre Dame, all right? And I put Florida State a little bit there just because it's a rivalry game, but come on, really? Let's be honest with you. Yes, Flo.
Yeah, and from a schematic standpoint, if let's just say they do struggle a little bit in pass protect, we're going to be able to run the ball like crazy because you can't put 8 in the box on this offense.
Yeah,
you understand? We ran last year with 8 in the box almost all year. Sometimes they would bring 9 down.
Yeah,
you will not see 8 in the box. I mean, I'd be shocked if you ever see 8 in the box this year. So run block is a lot easier when you're, you know, a monster and you don't have to worry about, like, Cantwell right now can run block at a very high level, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we already know what Pancake is and McCoy is and Buchanan's a dog, right? So to me, if let's say things get a little weird, I don't think they can, because just schematically, you can't even bring that many bodies down against this kind of offense. And I don't think that's talked about enough, because you got to think how people are going to try to play us, right? I'm not a coach, but I don't see 8 in the box a lot this year, if any, because you're playing with absolute fire if you do that, especially with Mensa.
Yeah. Try try going 1-on-1 with Jacobs. Try going 1-on-1 with Barkay. Try going 1-on-1 with Vaughn. Okay, Vaughn was catching balls over Xavier Lucas, who's a stud. All right, in practice. So try that. I mean, I dare teams to try to go 1-on-1 with this team by dropping 8 in the box. You're gonna get cooked. I mean, it's just gonna happen. Hugh, you want to add a little more to that before we address the Cantwell?
Yeah, man. Again, great points by Flo, bro. When you're looking at, what the box that they're going to run into this year, man, it will be a light box, right? There's no way that you're going to be able to trust corners against the receivers on my man. Again, if you're looking at what they're going to put on the field, right? If they go, just for shits and giggles, right? Number 3 receiver at Miami, whoever it is that you want to put in that position, right? Or how many teams across the country are going to be able to line up their third best corner, right, against Miami's third best receiver and be successful, right? Just for example, right? So you're going to have to pick your poison, right? And I think like Flo called in, and I think people have been saying that, right? Is from day one, Jackson Cantwell has been able to run block. Right now, it's the scheme that he played in high school and the whole deal, right? Obviously, lends itself to that being the case. But by the same token, now pass blocking against those animals that he's going with, he's going against, all the way through spring, and he'll be going, against all the way, when fall gets here, I think we'll prepare him for that, right? And so, again, that's probably where they're going to be able to make a difference, early on, more so in the run game than the pass game. But again, I think that will come. And then also, again, man, you're looking at what's going to help them also is you're looking at a group of receivers that is going to have the ability to beat people one-on-one, right? A couple years ago, it was tough for that to happen, right? It took a long time for Cam Ward to hit guys because the guys it took them forever to get open, right? I don't think that's going to be the case this year with the guys that they're going to put on the field, right? Josh Moore is a guy who's going to be a handful, right? Cooper Barkade, obviously he's done it already. Malachi Toney, obviously. So on and so forth, right? So, Cam Vaughn, Van Gravis Jacobs, all these dudes, the wide receiver room and Will knows that we talked about this, way early on. That's the room that I was the most excited about, right? We had seen the running back room already, so it's not that I wasn't excited about them, but with all the new toys in that wide receiver room, that's the reason why I was so excited, because they're going to be able to win one-on-one. They're going to be able to get down the field. And I think Darian Mensah will take advantage of that if he's given time. So, again, man, if this line does what they're supposed to do, if they do what they're supposed to do, and I don't think they'll have to be as elite as they were last year. If they are good, college football is in trouble. I'm telling you right now. The ACC is in trouble. College football is in trouble. If this O-line is good, college football is in trouble.
Yeah. I totally agree. And going back to Cantwell, we've heard about some struggles in practice and stuff like that with PASPA. His team ran for 3,000 yards his last year of high school. So that's one of the reasons why he's such an elite run blocker. They even used him at tight end a couple of times, which is pretty funny. But you kind of want to hear him struggling a little bit in practice because we have some studs at the end that he has to block. So if he's not struggling in practice, that could be a problem at the end position, but it's not. But we have seen, whatever the U has allowed to release, we have seen him throw around some of those 4-stars like ragdolls. So I'm really excited about Jackson Cantwell. But as a whole, Flo, you're pretty plugged in. What else have you heard about Cantwell as far as practice goes and him going one-on-one? So people like Hayden Lowe, Booker Pickett, Damon Wilson, etc.
Yeah, the one thing that a lot of the defensive line guys tell me is that he's just so strong. And it's like the common thing,
it's like a skyscraper, bro.
But listen, all three of us were watching football for a very long time.
Yeah,
you rarely have I'm almost gonna say never, but I'll say rarely just to be neutral and not the king guy. A defensive line this elite, and then if you ask 3 players on the defensive line to tell you some stuff about him, and all 3 of them say he's strong and he's a true freshman, that's just let that register. Everyone's like, yeah, he's real big. That's great. But remember, this guy just got in to Miami a few months ago. And you got guys that we are talking about could be the best defensive line in the country. And I'm telling you, all 3 of them, the common thing they said is, dude, he's strong. If he gets his hands on you, it's a wrap, right? To me, that's something that he's strong, but he's a freshman, dog. Can you imagine what this guy's going to turn into? Like his technique's only going to get better. He stays out to practice every single practice because he just wants to figure out why he lost this rep or what he could have done better. He goes and asks the defensive guys, hey, what'd you see that you got me on this one? Like, this is a true freshman. And I think we lose sight of that a little bit because he's a monster and he was the best guy coming out. And, you know, he looks the part, right? I want to bring this up. Did you guys by any chance see his interview?
I did not.
I
Okay.
did. I did. Super well spoken, super
How
mature guy.
articulate is this guy, bro?
Yeah.
How articulate is
impressive.
this guy?
Impressive.
Like, I mean, whatever question they threw at him, he didn't just answer it. He broke it down in detail. He gave you the why, the good, the bad. But this is what's gonna happen. Like, again, this guy's been in college a few months. This is what I think is not talked about enough. Okay, he's a monster. He's gonna be great. He's probably gonna be a first pick overall in a few years. But how about how smart he is? How about his family background of what he has to live up to? How about what this guy benches in the weight room, right? How about that he's literally not shy to go up to a senior or a big time defensive tackle and go, hey, what did you know, freshmen are usually quiet, right? Maybe they put their head down and maybe they work hard but they're not very like talk. This guy talks to everybody. He asks questions to everybody. I think that Mario knocked it out of the park with this guy. He's worth every penny. But the common thing I've heard, and I've only been to one practice so far, it was a full padded practice. He's just, if he gets his hands on you, it's a wrap. It's a wrap.
Yeah, he's like I said, he's a skyscraper who's also very strong, and like we've talked about it. If he gets his hands on you, it's a wrap. But I was impressed. I know it's what they allow out, you know, the university and so on in practice, but I saw ragdoll some of those guys that I know are not true freshmen. That says a lot. Yeah, it says a lot. Go ahead, Q. I know you want to jump in on this one.
Yeah. So it was crazy to speak to his you know, just his mentality, right, and just kind of the way he processes things. One of the things that struck me before he ever committed, right? I saw an interview with him, and he said, "Listen, it's the money's the money, right? The money's the money. I'm getting paid either way." You know, but when was the last time somebody heard a kid who was still in high school, right, say something like that? So to me, to start with, that was impressive, right? Then he came in, you know, during the playoff, right, and he was practicing, you know, with all these guys that are going to be in the NFL, right? They had him. I think he had a couple plays on defense, right? He was playing like the D line, and they had him. You know, they had him out. I think he was covering somebody or something like that at one point. Like, so, you know, again, you speak to the maturity, right? This is a guy who's the number one player in the country by most services, right? And he's in, you know, in a position where they've got him playing in a spot that he doesn't play, right? And they got him out there, you know, covering like in the flat. When a lot of people could be like, I don't have to do this shit. I'm the number one player in the country, bro. I'm the number one O lineman in the country. I'm not going to be out there playing defense and out there running around like a clown on, you know, like, so it'd be super easy to do that right now. And we've seen examples of guys who are highly recruited dudes who are getting paid a ton of money who are divas. This guy's anything but, right? Then you look at, you know, the traits in terms of, yes, the size is there, right? But that in and of itself isn't gonna make you a starter, right? You look at the hands, like Flo mentioned, the feet, right? He's got elite feet, right? A guy who, you know, a shot putter, you know, the whole deal, right? Comes from parents who are two Olympians, right? So the genetics are there, and the kid is just, man, he's intelligent, he's well spoken, he's respectful, he's humble, dude. He just, it's all the makings, right? This isn't Zion Nelson, you know, a few years back. Right, flipping him from Appalachian State and being thrown into the fire against Florida game one, right, at 260 pounds or something like that, right? Crazy. You know, this is a guy who's the number one player in the country for a reason. Like you mentioned, bro, hit it out of the damn park, you know, with this kid, and just the sky's the limit, man. I think this dude before the end of the year, I would be fairly surprised if he wasn't on one of the All ACC teams coming into the year. He's a guy who, again, man, I think every game is a guy who's going to get better. The guy's a tireless worker. He wants to be great, and I think that goes such a long way, man. With his coaching, I just think, man, the sky's the limit. I think he's going to be great, man.
I agree with all your points, guys, and we've gone past the 1 hour mark, which has been great because I love the conversation we've been having, to say the least. But Saturday's the spring game. All right, Saturday is the spring game. Thank you, Charles. Thank you, Charles. I appreciate the love. Thank you so much. So Saturday's the spring game. Yeah, thank you so much for all your participation as well. We missed out on Upshaw, the wide receiver at Texas, and they probably told him that you don't play your brother. Like, okay, all right. Anyways, I
don't think they were ever as close to landing him as
yeah, I don't think so either.
Some people thought so.
Yeah, A&M was always the front runner. But anyways, besides the point, so the spring game is this Saturday. So Flo, who do you think is gonna be the starting five out there?
See, with our coaches, they're funny like that.
That's what I'm saying. So what do you think?
They might do stuff just for us to talk about. I think you'll see Cantwell, you'll see SJ, you'll see Rodriguez, you'll see Buchanan, and you'll see McCoy. That's my guess. I wouldn't look into that at all, because remember, there's 3 guys that have something to say that aren't even practicing right now. Okay, so I wouldn't look into that. But SJ right now has been getting a lot of the left guard stuff. So I think they're gonna just try to do the nice thing and let him start, because Wilkerson's been getting more tackle stuff, and he hasn't really played too much inside. But the guy that they might do this just to mess it up is Congdon. Congdon's been playing a lot of guard at 6'8".
That's so crazy. God, that's crazy.
And look, he's doing a good job. The guy's doing a good job. I can't believe I'm saying that out loud.
That's wild.
But he's doing a good job. So, Will, don't hold me to that, but that's my guess is what they're gonna do, because those guys are, you know how Maribel and Mario, they'll put stuff out there just for us to go crazy on.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about Congdon. He's just killing people in practice. That wrestler physique and body and power is really being displayed. And the thing about wrestlers is that they're very good with their hands, and they have a grip from hell. So I think that's gonna get him some reps, and he could possibly sneak in the starting lineup as well. So we'll see. Q, what's your prediction for Saturday?
Honestly, man, based on everything that I've listened to on pods and everything leading in, I wouldn't change anything. I think they've been pretty consistent, kind of throughout camp, that those have been the guys who have played the majority of the time at those positions. With Sampson out, obviously SJ has taken advantage and he's gotten the reps. And then you look at what you've got in terms of your next few guys, and you've got obviously Wilkerson, Ben Cogden, I've heard Reese Woodrow has had a good camp.
Really good.
The
future's bright, bro. The future, they're only going to get better. They're literally 100%. Only that's crazy.
And imagine the guys that haven't really done anything, right? Joel Irvin isn't even. Joel Irvin he's been gone. He's been gone all camp, right? You look at Cannon Pickett. Cannon Pickett really hasn't that I know of. I don't know if he's hurt or I haven't heard a word from him. In camp.
The future's bright, bro.
Yeah, dude. Merriweather, who they said it's as from what he showed is decent. Klein, I don't know how much he's shown, but man. You're looking at this room right now and where it sits. It's to me, it's layered really, really well. Right at the top, you've got a couple guys that are kind of upperclassmen, but the way they've layered the room is really, really attractive to me. You've got guys at the top who they'll be gone next year, and I think all the guys who elevate after that are just kind of you got some you got some juniors, you got some sophomores, you got some freshmen.
Yep.
But the guys that are in the pipeline, to contribute in the next couple of years, man, I'm telling you, man, this O-line, it'll be good this year. I think next year with another year of Cantwell, right? And what you have coming up with Wilkerson, with Max, all the interior guys, Max and Congdon and the whole deal, I think the 27 line is going to absolutely I
agree with you, Q. I'm on the same page with you. I'm on the same page.
This year will be good. 27 is going to be a ridiculous O-line. Dude, just look at what they're gonna average with Cantwell and Congdon in that starting line with Wilkerson. with Buchanan, everybody else, they are going to maul
Massive.
people,
Yes.
maul people in 27.
Okay, so Q, I have a question for you. Based upon what I've heard and how good he is and how much he really wants to play center, is Buchanan the future starting center for this football team in 2027?
Bro, I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no simply because I think, and again, this is me speculating. I don't know it to be the case. I'm just based on on everything I've heard. I think his position where he's going to fit in best, I think, is going to be at guard. And I think I want that mentality at guard. Like, I want the way he plays, that physicality. That guy's a psycho. You listen to him talk, just the way he plays. I want that violence at guard, and I want a guy who's a little bit more reserved at center, if that makes sense, right? So I think a guy like Reese Woodrow, everything I've seen from him, I think he's wired the right way. He's an intelligent guy, a guy who I'd like to see at center. But I want Mad Max at guard. I want that guy just making D tackles feel him all game long. So if it were up to me, Max would stay at guard and somebody else, right? Whether it's SJ if he learns to snap, whether it's Reese Woodrow, whatever it is. But I want a guy like Max Buchanan and that mentality and that violence, physicality he plays with. I think that is tailor-made for guard.
Okay. I only mentioned that because I heard he wanted to compete for center. That's the one thing I heard about Max. So let's take Flo, what do you think?
I get it. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
I think Max is a stud, bro. I think he's a stud. We got that was such a good eval. I think he's gonna do a really good job there. And I think Woodrow's killing it right now. And real quick, just to mention, because it's the position we're talking about, have you guys seen the tape of the commits we got for O-line in this cycle? They're all psychos.
Yeah.
They're like they want to body. They're pancaking. Look at their film. It's not like, oh, he's got nice leverage. Oh, no, I'm taking this guy and putting him in the bench.
Yes.
That Tyler Ford kid that they just landed from Gainesville.
Yes.
Yep, he's another one.
That dude was out there just manhandling dudes.
Yeah,
Some of it. So that'll be somebody who you have to teach a little bit of
strength,
a little bit of technique too, right? Some of the stuff was but
you like the mentality, right?
But the package, right? In terms of the measurables and the mentality, that tailor-made for Miami. That dude is going to be legit. That guy's
Tatum is the same way though. Like the other dude they got, and not to deviate. They're just. It's almost like we were like, wow, we had a really good offensive line. This is the reset year, and then it's going to go crazy for like 3 years in a row. Is what I see coming.
It's going to be wild.
Yeah, we're definitely going to have depth. And I heard I should have done a little bit more research that Sean Tatum was the best inside offensive lineman in the country. And then the Florida fans were like, well, he's not number one. Our guy is, So like, okay, to each his own, whatever. We'll see who develops better as well.
Yeah,
I might do a flip.
Will you enjoy it?
I might do a flip watch episode just to piss them off.
Yeah. You've done this long enough, Will.
That's what we're arguing. We're like, oh, our guy's more highly rated, bro. Come on, man. Like, what are we doing?
We're like the quarterback thing. Oh, you guys settled on a quarterback. What are you talking about, bro?
Ask Tyreek Sapp whose O-line was better.
Definitely.
Or Miami's clowns. Come on.
Wait,
man.
hold on. Did they say we settled on Izzy?
Yeah.
On Izzy Abrams? They said that?
Yes,
did they watch the tape on that kid?
Yeah, I don't understand, bro. He just got his fifth star today, by the way, in the composite.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, good. Listen, because he's a stud. Absolute stud. I'm more excited about him than Coleman.
Bro, the kid that Florida landed. What the hell's his name?
The kid he's from here, from Florida. 6'6" guy. What's his name?
He's got the same. It's like a.
I know exactly.
It's an SSMM.
Holy cow!
Somebody in the chat knows it. Please, it's right on the tip of my tongue.
Yeah,
Davin Davidson. Davidson. Mo Canes, appreciate you. Based on what I've seen, and again, I'm not a QB coach. I'm not Shannon Dawson or anything. Based on what I've seen from the two of them, like right now, Izzy Abrams is a more developed guy. I don't know what Davin Davidson will turn into, but the guy's raw. Like, does he have traits? Yes, he does. He's a big kid, right? Just want to stay tight on the whole deal. But right now, if you look at those guys and you line one up next to the other, and one of them is throwing the ball, and then the other one throws the ball. You can't tell me right now that Davin Davidson is a better prospect than Abrams. Now, what they turn into, we'll see. Time will tell. But right now, as it stands, Abrams is a better quarterback than Davin Davidson.
I want to get into.
He's committed to Miami. He's simply a better quarterback as it stands right now.
I really want to mention this. I haven't seen Davidson's numbers, but Izzy had 50 total touchdowns as a junior, and he's not even a senior yet in high school.
Yeah,
and he had almost 70% completion percentage, and the guy's not afraid to go deep quite a bit. Yes,
but what about the best stat at all? Because my man said, well, Davidson won a championship. Izzy's 24-0 in high school. He's got 2 championships in a row.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
Like, drop the mic with the whole Davidson thing. Like, and listen, full disclosure, I think Davidson's going to be really good. Also, I'm just going to put that out there. I think he's going to be real good. But I agree, Izzy Abrams is the that's where you put your money.
Bro, you're looking at that kid, and I mean, just the mechanics, right? In terms of Davin Davidson, he needs work, right? And I'm not saying Izzy Abrams doesn't, right? Davin Davidson, truthfully, probably played against better competition, right? In terms of being in Florida, and Izzy Abrams in Illinois. But you look at what Abrams does as he throws the ball. The kid is tall, right? Doesn't have this long, winding throwing motion. It's compact. It's accurate. He's a good athlete. The guy's a leader.
He's got great pocket awareness, too.
Great pocket awareness, man. Throws a really pretty ball, really pretty throwing motion. I think what obviously you're going to have to coach me the whole deal. But again, he's an athlete. The guy's a leader. He's a winner. Again, I'm sure Davin Davidson will be good. But right now, if you made me choose, I'd go Abrams over Davin Davidson.
100%. I agree with that.
Yeah.
See, arm talent, Jose. Jose's been killing it, man. These last 4 nights, man. So he's been loyal. He's been great, man. He's been on it. Yeah. He's been on it. Yeah, man. So I'm sorry, man.
Release. Yeah, 100%, man.
Yeah, the guy's a beast, bro. Like, he is a beast. When I saw the film, I was like, holy crap, man. Especially a guy, if he stays, let's be honest. I know he signed an extension, but someone's gonna come calling sooner or later. If he stays, I think he fits Dawson's system perfectly. Like Geno Smith did and Clayton Tune did as well, and even Cam as well. So I think Dawson will have a lot of fun coaching this young man in the future.
And we'll have an athlete at the position that we haven't had at that position in a really long time, and especially not under Shannon Dawson. So
definitely.
I'll say this: about 5 or 6 Fridays ago, every Friday I do like a little show. I literally said, I think we're going to end up with Davidson, but there's this guy named Izzy Abrams who I think is the best quarterback in the nation. And literally 4 days later, Miami's like, hey, and I didn't know this. I didn't have no insider. Miami's like, oh, he's going to come visit. And I like in like 3 weeks. And I was like, oh my God. I was like so excited because I was like, if we get that guy, and then look how it played out. Davidson goes to Florida and we get Abrams. I went crazy because I thought he was the best quarterback in the nation. That was a good call, like, he's awesome. He's awesome.
Yeah. And you listen to him talk too, man. And again, man, it's another thing too, man. When you talk about how it's always been important, right? Especially at the position where you can have a psycho at safety. You can't have a psycho at quarterback, right? Willie Williams was a psycho, of the highest order, but he was a linebacker, right? You can't have a psycho at quarterback. Right. And you listen to this guy talk, especially now with the money involved and the whole deal, right? It's even more important moving forward that with the money that you dedicate to these guys and obviously the position, a guy who's intelligent, who's coachable, right? Who's well-spoken, who's articulate, bro. And you listen to that guy talk, because I think he was with D-Money, if I'm not mistaken. And you listen to that guy talk, man, and it was like, yo, I really, really like this kid right here. Right. Really, really like this kid. And I'm so glad he committed, man. I think the dude's going to be legit in this offense.
No, I totally agree. But, gentlemen, before we go, I promise, Juan Manuel has a few comments, and some of them are directed at Flo, and we have to talk about them because Juan Manuel is a loyal soldier, and he's a good friend to all our shows, to be frank with you. So he has a question. JJ Dunnigan, Juan, if you stick tomorrow, I'll ask Gio Milian that. Gio Milian's gonna be on tomorrow night with Brad Tejeda. So we'll do JJ Dunnigan tomorrow. But I gotta ask, hold on, where is it? He asked about your golf game. So I want to see if I can find it. So he asked me to ask you, if you're when do you become a golf addict? The man even goes to Alabama to play, thinking of Wake Forest. Not for the game, but curiosity for the golf over there. What's the story? So he has a comment for you.
Yeah, look, go to Alabama. There's this thing called the Grant Jones Trail. They have unbelievable courses. I never thought I would go to Alabama to play golf. I'm a 13 handicap, so I'm okay. Not, I'm solid, and I love it because it's one of the few times that I can just shut my phone off and just play. And I'm playing against myself. Like that's the neat thing about golf. You're playing against your own score. And I used to be an athlete. I can't really do half the things I used to do. So it's a way for me to be competitive. And I've met unbelievable people in golf. And I never had the money to play when I was growing up either, to be honest with you. I could never afford golf. So God has hooked it up. And now I travel with the boys, all Hurricane fans too. So it's kind of cool. And we're usually all caned up. Our golf bags are caned up. So we always talk in Miami on these all Alabama people were coming and going, roll tide when we were there. We were throwing the U's up. Dude, it was crazy. But we try to get a couple trips in every year. So if anybody plays golf that wants to go on these trips, bro, hit me up because as long as you're a cane, you can't come if you're not a cane, though. That's not happening. And I'm a 13 handicap, so I'm okay. I'm working. I'm still trying to get it better.
That's awesome, man. When I was in Tennessee for New Year's, it was when we were playing Ohio State, and I had a bunch of people that came up to go, man, I'm not a fan of Miami, but I really hate Ohio State. I hope you guys win that game.
Yes, bro. Yes. No.
You had the Georgia fans like, go Dogs. I'm like, we'll see. We all know how that turned out.
Passionate though. They're passionate. Like the general.
I loved it, man. I loved it. I'm not gonna lie to you.
That had Auburn logos on it, and he was holding on to it, and people saw it, and they were like, "You're an Auburn fan?" And the general's like, "No, I'm just I'm just playing with this golf." They wanted to kill him because he had an Auburn. They're like crazy over there in a good way. Like they're about it. You know what I'm saying? They're about 100%. It over there.
Yeah, 100%. That's no joke, man. That's no joke out there, bro.
Well, Juan has another comment. All right, Juan has another comment, and I learned who this woman was because Q was laughing at me because I had no idea who this woman was about a year ago. In general,
I read the comment and I was
So I'm gonna bring it up.
I was chuckling earlier when I read it. I was like,
so I'm gonna bring it up. I'm gonna bring it up because he used to be a Cavinder Twins fan, and he switched loyalties. Right, I remember Juan commented about the Cavinder Twins, so he switched his loyalties to Bella Danger.
She goes to the games. She does and everything. Yeah,
she does. I only know that, to be honest. I only know that because she always ends up on ABC. They always have a tendency of finding her in the stands. I think the cameramen have a crush on her on ESPN. So that being said,
shocker.
Okay,
I read that comment earlier.
So last year Juan was all about the Cavinder Twins. I remember, and now this year he's about and towards the end of the year now he's about Bella Danger. All right, so he asked me a question about blinking. All right, let's see.
And just real quick, Juan Manuel, not because of their how they make money, but I'll go a Bella Danger because she was a real one and she's a Canes fan. Even though the Twins played here and the whole deal, the trash that they spoke about Carson Beck and the whole deal, like, nah, man, they can kick rocks. Even I know they played here and the whole deal, they both played here on the basketball team. But a Bella Danger I'll go with because she was a real one and didn't talk the trash about Carson Beck that the Cabinet Twins did, so they can keep runs.
I agree. All right, so Flo, I know I left the JJ Dunnigan question, but both you and Q can answer this question. I think it's a good one actually from Juan. As just we're talking about blocking an offensive line, I think it kind of works here. Okay. So he's asking about how come we can't use Pringle as a multi-purpose weapon on wheel routes, reverse his slot. If he can't block, don't ask him to do that throw or run him. Like, I actually think that it's just a physical maturity thing for Pringle. I think eventually he will be that guy that will block. And I gotta give him credit. He stood in front of that defensive end against Texas A&M, and he took flying off the grass like a man, dude. I gotta say that. What do you guys think? I'll start first with Flo, then go to Q.
Yeah, look, it's the separator, right?
Yeah.
Do you know how to pick up a blitz? Like that's what separates. I mean, Frank Gore made a living for as long as he did, not just because he was a good running back. He's probably one of the best blitz pickup running backs in the history of football. And I'm not joking. Like, he is like the textbook guy. And it's not that Pringle doesn't want to block. It's just when you're young, to me, And if you talk to any of the coaches, they say that's the hardest thing for a running back to learn is where's the pressure coming from? Are you supposed to be inside? Are you supposed to be outside? Who are you looking at? If this guy shows, does it change it? Like, you can grab the ball and take off and you can learn how to catch and get on the jugs machine. But unless you're live or you're going through really fast walkthroughs, it's tough for these guys. Remember, the game is a lot faster. Pringle's going to get it there. You know, this new coach comes from the NFL. He's a developer type of guy. I have full faith that he's going to do a good job, but I don't think that it's Pringle. I don't think it's his size too much, because there's little backs that can block when they have good leverage and they understand. It's understanding who to block and what side of what shoulder to pick. You know, that's a whole other animal. And I think they're not going to trust him in there when they have a multi-million-dollar quarterback back there until he learns how to pick up the blitz. That's just my thing. Q.
Yeah, well, I just felt bad for recruit. I just felt bad for him. You look like Wile E. Coyote when he got hit by an anvil.
He threw his body.
An anvil in those old Looney Tunes cartoons back in the 50s. Q, go ahead.
Yeah. Listen, man. Of all the things that he was asked to do in high school, I mean, how many times do you think he actually had to block in high school? Right? I mean, look at his tape. Look at his tape. When you do it, when he put together a highlight tape, it wasn't a highlight tape of him blocking, right? There's a highlight tape of him, breaking off, 40, 50-yard runs, right? I mean, these guys are specialists in high school, right? All he did was run the ball, right? I'm sure he probably caught a couple passes, but he lined up back there. When he lined up back there, when he dotted the I or he was split back, whatever it was, he was running the damn ball. He wasn't back there, picking up blocks, right? And so, again, it's always the closer you get to the line of scrimmage, the more difficult it is to play this game, right? That's why you see guys, be able, if you're outside, right, you're able to contribute a little bit, quicker and easier, right? The closer you get to the offensive line, you're dealing with size, right? That's why you rarely see. That's why it's so intriguing with the Cantwell deal, because he's playing left tackle, right? Yep. The closer you get to the line of scrimmage, the more physical the game is, and simply put, he wasn't ready for that level of physicality, right? We saw a guy in Mark Fletcher who's 6'2", 235 pounds, something like that. Yeah. And he got pasted one time against, I think it was against Ohio State or Texas A&M, one of those. Now, he had a couple of blocks where he did really well, but even a guy his size, got owned, when he was picking up a block. So, there again, man, I don't think it's necessarily a knock against him. I don't think he's the first running back to struggle picking up blocks, and he won't be the last. I think he's a guy who that's something he's going to work on in terms of, the offseason and stuff that, he's got to get better at. But I think eventually they're going to get him where he needs to be. And I think he's going to be a guy who, at some point he won't be an elite blocker at the running back position, but I think a guy who will hold up enough in order to be in there, on passing downs.
Rock, man, thank you for joining us, man. I was watching you guys at College Football Express the other day, so thank you for joining the show. Yeah. You've been found, Flo. Just to let you know.
That's funny what he wrote. Hey, what's the running back that just transferred? There was a really good running back. I think he went to FIU and then he went somewhere else.
Allen, right?
Yes, really good with the ball, but he good actually blocker. Transferred.
He was a very good blocker too.
Well, I was actually going to go the other way, but I love you, Q. He actually had to transfer because he couldn't pick up the blitz. He couldn't get on the field. They wouldn't put his ass on the field because I think I know who you're talking about. I think you're mistaken, Allen, with what's his name? I can't remember. No running backs right now. But Allen, I'm telling you, there would be arguments because he, with the ball in his hand, he was unbelievably good.
Yeah,
we were
very good
all
speed.
Like, yeah. But watch that guy in pass protect, bro. Oh my God. And then
he wasn't cutting it.
Yeah, he wasn't cutting it. But I think I know who you're talking about, Q, but I'm drawing a blank on it. And it's not Chris Johnson. It's the other one. It's not Chris Johnson. It's the other one. The one that went to SMU that now plays for the Chiefs.
Oh, Brashard Smith.
Oh, yes, Brashard Smith.
That's the one. He could block.
Yeah, he could block. And wasn't a big dude. Was not a big dude.
No, it wasn't.
No, but he could block though, right? Like people forget he could block. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so that's all it is, man. Clean up that technique a little bit, and again, you don't have to be an elite blocker, right? I mean, it's just correct. It's again, like you mentioned, man, know what you're looking at, know where the read is and everything. Just end up on the right side of the line and again, just hold up a little bit, right? You don't have to be you don't have to be an All-American guard or tackle. You just again, just use some
Throw your
technique
body.
and get in the way. Yeah, essentially just kind of get in the way a little bit, right?
Throw your body.
Yeah, you just kind of get in the way and keep your quarterback from getting killed. And,
Yeah, I remember the A&M game. All I remember the A&M game was him like this. College Station.
No, yeah, he got blown up. Yeah, he got blown up. But
Tell me about it.
Is what it is, man.
But he took it.
He took it. That's what I'm saying. He took it. He took it. That's what he took it like a champ, in general. But we all know if you can't block for Mario Cristobal, you will not end up on the field. That is just his MO. If you can block, you'll end up in the field, as many times as he needs you to. But if you can't, Marty Brown, Fletcher, he could block as well. Those are guys that could block. But if you can, even David Martinez, he had to work around a little bit at the beginning of the season a little bit. He has his little issues, but then he picked it up. He picked it up. So yeah, man. If you can block, you will end up on the field. If you can't block, you're gonna sit on the bench, because if you whiff on one block, you blow up an entire play. That's just the way the game goes. So yeah. Before I let you guys go, I had a funny conversation with my students, and I know Q, I know you're a soccer fan, but I hope you could agree with me on this. Because they're they're from Hialeah, in general, and a lot of Cuban kids, usually baseball fans, but they've adopted more love for soccer lately, and they told me, they're starting to get into football as well. And they asked me, like, do you think soccer's better? You think football's better than soccer? And I said, well, yeah, I think it's better. And they said, well, why do you think it's better? And I said, because in soccer, you can make a mistake, but you could have somebody, clean it up for you, or you could have a good save, or your defender could kind of like trail and back you up. But in football, you miss a block, you're out of position, a quarterback makes the wrong read, you're toast. You pretty much blow up your whole entire play. And the funny part about it is that, like, whoa, like soccer players have more endurance. I go, endurance is one thing, schematics is another. There's more scheme in football. There's much more need for communication, I think, in football than there is in soccer. And I coach soccer as well. I did more strength and conditioning, but I've seen it. So that's just that was my take. So referencing, like, one of the examples I used was the Ohio State game. All right. They ran, correct me if I'm wrong, Flo. All right. Because you watch a lot of tape. They ran the same play with Malley that they used in A&M to get the go-ahead touchdown. Against Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl. They tried running the same play on the opposite side. Markel Bell missed his block. I think it was against Sonny Styles. And Sonny Styles blew up that play. Yes, 5-yard loss. A play that led to a touchdown. Okay, and could have at least led to big yards because Malley had, a bunch of blockers in front of him. Bell missed that one guy. That one guy who's an elite linebacker, but one guy he gets through, play gets blown up. So that's just my take.
Yeah, no, I agree. Listen, I can't talk bad about soccer because it's, what is it? Probably the number one sport in the world.
It is,
right? But I think football's chess, man. I just think it's chess. Like, there's so many like intricate pieces that have to work, and different sizes and speeds and different skill sets, right? Like, it's, to me, and then you have so many different coaches that coach different positions that are kind of coaching against each other and scheming against each other. And then there's so many different techniques according to the positions, right? So to me, it's not even close as far as entertainment for me, because I like the chess stuff. I love that stuff. But I'm not gonna lie, I'll watch a good soccer game too, man, because when they score, that's so exciting. When they go nuts, we score a touchdown, we celebrate. But when they score a goal, it's a fiesta. It's a whole party, bro. So yeah, no, I agree with you. The schematics to me is what is not even close.
Q, what do you think, man?
Yeah, man. First off, Bobby, what's good, brother? Good to
we love you, Bobby, man.
Good to see you on here, buddy.
FTSN.
Man, like, from somebody who grew up playing soccer, man, my dad would give me shit because I played soccer, but I prefer to watch football, growing up. So I think if you look at it simply, right, I think football for longer periods of time, I think it's a more exciting game. First and foremost, right? When you look at, again, the way they score and the big plays, right, left and right, which again, you don't get in soccer, right, as much. 1, 2, you look at it, in terms of you talk about schematics, it's the ultimate team sport, right? Again, you're talking about it, right? All 11 people have to do their job. If not, the play doesn't work, right? In soccer, you get, especially in the, if you're in the attacking third, right, you get 2 or 3 guys, who are building that play and end up, being part of the, the score and so on and so forth, where, you can have, anywhere from, 6 to 7 guys really not even taking part in the play, right? So, it's a little bit different, a little bit more fragmented in terms of, how it is you play, very different, than football, where all 22 people on the field are doing something at the exact same time. And you see when there's a breakdown in something because, either somebody gets sacked or somebody scores or whatever the case may be. So it's more interesting in that sense. Obviously there's a reason, man. You look at the passion, and the pageantry that there is in soccer, man. I think it's awesome. You look at, these leagues like in Argentina, they are absolute psychopaths. When you look at the way they love the game, these guys are in the crowd, shooting off flares. They're, smoke, the flags and like the way they root for their team is definitely more reminiscent of something, in college football, something like you see maybe in the SEC or the Big Ten or something like that. And even then, I think it pales in comparison, right? I just think the history that there is with these teams, man, most of these teams have been around for over 100 years and everything like that. So it just kind of allows you to build, this fan base and this ownership, that you have, and this fandom that they instill in you from the time you come out of the damn womb. It's just really impressive, man. So I think both sports are awesome in their own right. You look at the Super Bowl that draws, I don't know what the max is that it draws in terms of at its peak. The World Cup final, it's like 50 times that,
yep.
Right? Which is insanity, right? And so again, I think both games are amazing. I think they're both awesome to watch, especially, again, when you're looking at the best of the best. But I think in the end, man, for me, even though I grew up playing soccer, my family's Colombian, we grew up, living that. To me, man, my favorite sport on the planet is and always will be football, man. I'm before anything else, I'm a huge Canes fan. That's number 1 for me. And number 2 is the Niners. I'm always going to be a bigger football fan than I am a soccer fan. That's just me. But I think both sports are awesome for different reasons. And on any given day, man, I'll watch any one of them from beginning to end and have a great time doing it.
Yeah. Bobby, love you, man. Thank you so much for participating, bro. Bobby of the FTSN network. Please subscribe to all his 1,000 shows that he has at the FTSN network, man. So all good stuff.
1,100. It's like 1,100.
Yeah, man. Yeah, they even cover wrestling, right, as well, and fantasy.
They cover everything, bro.
And fantasy football, they even cover wrestling. So it's pretty good.
They cover everything, bro.
Yeah, so all his 1,000 shows, and he's like in all of them.
100%. I don't understand how he's got the time to be in all of them.
I don't either, man. He's like in all of it, with the exception of
impressive.
Yeah, with the exception when you and Russ are on, and stuff like that. But he's like in all of them, bro. He's in the wrestling shows. He's in the Heat shows. He's in the and so on. So it's pretty neat. It's pretty neat.
Just he's on everything. He's on everything. It's impressive.
Yeah, definitely. But he's a great dude, man. He's a great dude.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, so we're done. All right, we're done for tonight. We almost went for 2 hours. All right, so but it's fun always having both of you on. I love talking Canes football. I love talking spring game as well. I'm always excited to what I like to call the appetizer before the season starts. So this just means that football's right around the corner, man. So I'm really excited. But gentlemen, thank you so much again for joining us. First, starting with Flo, you got anything going on coming up soon?
Yeah, man. Just a lot of recruiting coming up. For you guys that think that Myson is gonna go somewhere else, the running back, he's not, and he might be, in the 305 in the next day or two again.
Oh man,
dude, don't get that call from Dennis Smith, man. He doesn't want you to blow it. Don't get that call.
Just tell
Don't get that call.
I got 100 text messages.
Kentucky's got people worried. Kentucky
dropped the bag. Okay, well,
he's a psycho if he goes to Kentucky.
Let's see where Myson is this weekend.
The law firm.
Let's see where Myson is this weekend. No, I do a little recruiting on tomorrow for the 5 o'clock show that everybody always makes me do. It's like, man, it's 5 o'clock. I don't want to do a show, but they're like, you should do it. So I do it. And then, just regular stuff. And shout out to Rock and Rant. I'm a co-host on that show for College Football Express, which I love because it makes me study all the other teams. So I've really got a new respect for other college football teams. And then, just gonna be guest on a few shows, but I'll let them announce it because I don't want to. It's their platform. And thanks for having me on, man. Both of you guys know your stuff, so I love coming to talk to you guys.
Hey, man, I really appreciate it. Q, what about yourself?
First and foremost, rock and rant. Just to address the. Can you put up his statement? Can you put up?
Sure, of course. Hold on. Got it.
The algorithm is undefeated but scary. Like FSU wishes they were.
That's awesome.
Hey! Shout out to you, rock and rant. That is beautiful. If anybody who knows us and obviously who knows me, you know what FSU can do. They had more snow. They had more snow in inches at Doe Campbell Stadium than they did wins last season. Just for context. But no, man. Myself and Russ will get together at some point, man, and get back with it. I've just been kind of laying low, just been working, traveling, that kind of thing. But I'll get back to it here soon. You can find me on I Hate Football Podcast on YouTube, on Instagram, Hate Football Pod on X. And love to get back with you guys and talk some Canes real soon, man.
All right. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. After the show, I will have their links down at the bottom, so you can click on their links and subscribe and like and watch all their content. After the show, I will be dropping that for you guys as well. Ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow night will be the culminating end of the Road to Spring segment. All right. Ameli, much love. Thank you so much. Will be the culminating end of the Road to Spring segment, and we have a very, very, very packed lineup for you. As joining the show tomorrow is going to be Gio Milian, Brad Tejeda, the 12th Matt Shelton, the Kane and the Canes Wear podcast crew. Right, we'll be joining the show tomorrow. We'll be talking the spring game itself. Right, we're wanting to see and recruiting as well. Since we do have Gio on the show, we might as well ask him all those questions. All right, as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, tune in tomorrow night once again live at 8:30 p.m. here on YouTube. Ladies and gentlemen, for myself, Flo, and Q of the I Hate Football Podcast, please, guys, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to 305 Sports Out. Once again, have a good evening, guys. God bless. Go Canes. All about to you guys. Take care. Bye-bye.